we're coming up to a new moon on the 11th. So I thought today we would try and connect with that energy. We've been doing a lot of work around releasing all that doesn't serve us anymore. So it's good. It's like when you cleanse out your wardrobe, you cleanse it out so then you can start to bring some new things in. So thank you all for being here today. You've done, the hardest thing is getting here, and you've done that, which is great. Let's come into a comfortable seated position. You can perhaps put a block underneath you to lift your hips up a little bit and have a nice tall spine. Let's soften our eyes and have your hands comfortable either on your knees or just in your lap, whatever works best for you. And I want you to start to tune into your breath, taking some deep breaths in and deep breath out. Just getting some audible noise with your breath. Notice how your chest rises as you inhale and it falls as you exhale. Feel yourself connecting with the energy of the earth underneath you, underneath your buttocks and underneath your feet. As you breathe in, breathing up the earth's energy up through the base chakra, up through your spinal column, and then releasing out your crown chakra. Continue on for another 5 or 6 breaths. As you do, scan your body as the breath comes up from the base chakra and up through all of your chakras. Tuning in for your practice, coming back to your heart center. And we'll take 2 more breaths here. And we're going to start to add a little bit of movement. We're going to breathe in as we take our hands round to the right side, looking to the right with your right hand behind you, left hand on your knee. And breathe out as you twist around to the left side. Just going from side to side. Breathing in and breathing out. We'll do 1 more breath on each side. And then coming back to the middle. This time we're going to go from side to side, placing the right hand down, left hand over the top, stretching through the left side of your body, and then to the other side. Breathe in as you come towards the center, and breathe out as you go to the side. And 1 more on each side. And then we're going to go to tabletop position for some cat-cow. Opening up your fingers so they're nice and wide, and having your knees positioned underneath your hips, so nice and wide. And we're going to inhale, lift up our chest and look up, getting a nice curve through the spine. And then exhale as we bring the spine up towards the ceiling and looking through the knees towards the feet, stretching out through the spine and through the back of the neck, feeling a stretch through the shoulders. Let's continue on for 4 or 5 breaths. Imagine that you're opening up the little spaces in between your vertebrae, creating some space in your body. Let's do 3 more breaths here. And then taking your knees a little wider and bringing your buttocks down to your heels into child's pose. And walking your hands forward, bringing your forehead down towards the mat, resting your forehead on the mat, or you can place a block underneath your forehead if you need a little bit more support. Stretching out through your fingertips. Let's come into ourselves here with 4 or 5 breaths. Connecting back to your breath. Feeling the earth's energy underneath your hands and underneath the tops of your feet. Let's do 1 more breath here. And then we're either going to come up to tabletop or you can come to plank, whichever feels right for you today. And then slowly lowering your body down onto the mat. And bring your hands slightly forward, raising your chest into cobra. Taking a few breaths here. Squeezing your shoulders back and down. And then bring your forehead down to the mat, bending your knees and taking your feet from side to side. Just loosening up the lower back a little bit. And then coming back up to all 4. And tucking your toes under into downward dog. And taking a few breaths here. Walking your heels down towards the mat. Let's do 3 more breaths. Connecting with the stretch down the back of your legs and through your arms and your shoulders. And then coming either to plank or to tabletop. And then slowly lower your tummy down to the mat. Put the tops of your feet on the mat and then inhale, lift up into cobra, squeezing through the butt. Taking a couple of breaths here. Inhale as you lift your chest and exhale as you let it drop. And 1 more breath. And then back into child's pose with your knees nice and wide. Bring the buttocks down to the heels. Let's take 2 breaths here. And then coming back up to plank or tabletop. pushing your bottom up towards the ceiling into downward dog. 2 breaths here. And then back into plank and slowly lower your body down to the mat for 2 breaths more in cobra. And then from here, we're going to do a bow pose. So we've done these before. So we're laying down flat on the mat with our 4 hands in front of us, our knees bent. We're going to take our left hand and draw it back and grab onto our left ankle. As we inhale, we're going to lift up through the chest and kick our left foot away. Feeling that stretch through the arm and the chest and the left thigh. Let's take a couple of breaths here. And then release. Bring the left hand down to the mat. Take your right hand to the right ankle. Inhale as you kick the foot back. Lift up through the chest. Feel that stretch through the right arm, the right thigh. And then bring the left hand back and hold on to the left foot and the right foot at the same time. From here, we're going to inhale and lift up through the chest and kick both feet back. Nice. Well done. Everybody's got it. Take a couple of breaths here and then release. Come back down to the mat. Good job, everyone. From here, we're going to come into our downward dog. And then we're going to walk our feet forward and come into a forward bend. So we've got our crown of our head pointing down to the earth and connecting back to our breath again. Let's take 5 or 6 breaths here. Let your head fall heavy and let your chest fall heavy. Feel that stretch down the back of the legs and the lower back and a little bit through the shoulders. Notice the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. Opening up through the body, putting a little bit more space between your joints. And then inhale, we're going to come back up to standing. And bring our hands back to Anjali Mudra. And from here, we're going to take our warrior poses. So we'll step forward with our right foot. And the right heel should line up with about the arch on the left foot. Bring your hips and your shoulders facing forward. We're going to inhale, lift our arms, lift our gaze, and bend through the right knee. Imagine you're holding a beach ball up. So reaching up towards the ceiling, taking some nice deep breaths here, and connecting to the stretch on the left hip. And we're going to take the right hand forward, left hand back, keeping that right knee bent still. And elongate out through the hands, stretching through the front of the chest and keeping nice and strong through the right thigh. Into warrior 2. Then we're going to lift our right hand and lower our left hand down the back of our left leg, looking up towards that right hand, stretching right up as tall as you can. Front knee is still bent. 2 breaths here. And then lengthen the front leg, straighten it out. Bring the right hand back behind you, clasping your hands, and bring your chest down towards your right leg. And lifting up the chest and lifting up through the hands into humble warrior. And feel that stretch down the back of the right leg and stretch through the shoulders. One more breath. And then release both hands down towards the mat. If you have a block here, you might like to put the block next to your right foot and put your right hand on it, or you can have the fingertips on the ground. Inhale, lift up the left hand up towards the ceiling, opening up through the chest, taking the gaze up, nice twist through the upper back, and nice stretch through the front of the right leg. 2 more breaths here. And then release the left hand down to the mat or the block, and then take the right hand up into a twist. And 2 more breaths here. And notice the stretch down the back of the right leg. Opening up through the chest, the gaze up to the right hand. And then release the right hand to the mat. Inhale, come back up to standing. Bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. Bring your feet together, give them a little shake. And then we'll do the other side. So right foot slightly turned out. Step forward with the left foot. Getting your hips and shoulders facing forward. We're going to inhale, bend the left knee, lift the arms up towards the ceiling. Imagine you're holding that big beach ball. Feel that stretch through the right hip. Let's take a few breaths here. Reaching up towards the sky, lifting that ball as high as you can. And then taking the left hand forward, right hand back, looking towards the left hand. Feel that deep strength needed in that left leg. Left knee is still bent. And then inhale, lift up the left hand, drop the right hand down to the back of the right leg, looking up towards the left hand, stretching up through the front of the body. 2 more breaths here. And then bringing the left hand down, controlling your balance with your feet. Clasp both hands behind your back, bring your body forward and straighten out the front leg. Lifting the hands up off your back. Raise your chest a little bit. Take a couple of breaths here. And feel that deep stretch down the back of your left leg. 1 more breath. And then release your hands down to the mat, placing your left hand on the mat or the block. Then we're going to inhale and lift the right hand up and take our gaze with the right hand so we get a nice stretch through the upper back. Nice twist in the back and a stretch through the front of the left leg. 2 more breaths here. And then bring the right hand down to the mat or the block. And then lift up the left hand so into a twist, triangle twist. And 1 more breath. Release the left hand to the mat. And then inhale, use your legs to come up to standing. And hands back to Anjali Mudra. Good work. Okay, the next one we're going to do is our deep squat to open up our hips. So if you have a bolster or a blanket folded up or a pillow, you might like to put that underneath your heels. And then that just gives you a little bit more stability. And open up your legs so they're about hip width apart. And then we're going to point the toes out a little bit and bring ourselves into a deep squat. This is called a yogi squat. And bring your hands to heart center and push your knees gently push your elbows against your knees. That's it. And let's just take a few breaths here, connecting back to the breath and thinking about creating that space in the body. So thinking about creating that space in the hips, through the hip joints. Elongating your spine, chest is up nice and tall as you can. That's it. Yeah. It's a little bit hard also. I can see you haven't got anything under your heels, so just a little bit tougher when you don't have that. Let's just take a couple more breaths here. And then bring your hands to the ground and straighten out your legs into a forward bend, and you can kick away whatever you had supporting you, and take a couple of breaths here in the forward bend. Two more breaths. Let your head fall heavy, just relaxing into this nice big stretch. And then inhale, coming back up to standing. And let's do a little bit of balancing work. Opening up through the right foot and moving your hips around a little bit of a circle, spreading the toes out, connecting in underneath your feet to the 3 anchors behind your joint, behind the big toe and behind the little toe and the heel. And we're going to do tree pose. So you can have your toe on the ground, your left toe on the ground next to your right foot, or you can bring your foot up next to your calf, or you can bring it up a little higher if that works, but not against your knee. So a little bit higher than the knee. Find a drishti point to help you with your balance. And once you're nice and settled, bring your hands up to Anjali Mudra. And let's just come back into our center, come back to our breathing. Nice and steady. 3 more breaths. And then release. And we'll go to the other side. This time, spreading the left toes and moving your body in a little circle, connecting with the 3 anchor points underneath your left foot. And then bringing your right toe next to your left foot on the mat. And you can bring it up next to your calf, or if you feel comfortable, you can take it a little bit higher. You probably find you're better on one side than the other. Find your drishti point. That's it. And bring your hands to Anjali Mudra and settle into your breath. 3 more breaths here. And then release. Good work. Okay, from here, let's go one more balancing pose. So we'll go back to the right foot this time, and we're going to lift up the left leg and bring it across the front of the right leg. And then we're going to bend our right knee a little bit and bring our chest a little bit forward and our hands to Anjali Mudra, and find that drishti point again. Taking some nice deep breaths and connecting with the stretch through the glutes on the left side. Good. Yeah, if you need to hold on to something, you can. Just a really nice stretch through the hips, hip flexors and glutes. One more breath. And then come up to standing again and release your leg. Give them a little shake, and then we'll take it to the other side. So this time we're lifting up the right leg and bringing it across the front of the left leg. Bend the left knee a little bit and find your drishti point and bring your chest a little forward until you feel a stretch from your right hip to your right knee. 3 more breaths. Nice and settled. And then release. Well done. Okay, from here we're going to come down onto the mat, onto our buttocks with our legs out in front and our knees bent. I'm going to do a little bit of work here on our abs. We're going to go into boat pose as opposed to bow pose we did before. This is called boat pose. So we have our spine up nice and tall and our heels on the mat. And then we're putting our hands out in front. And we're going to, you can lift one heel up, or you can lift two up. And we're gonna, let's stay here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. And then coming down onto your back, knees bent, feet nice and close to your buttocks. And we're going to lift up into a bridge pose. So lifting up through the hips. And let's bring our hands underneath us in a clasp position and draw our shoulders together. Come up as high as you can. And we'll hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And release your hips down to the mat. Hug your knees up to your chest. And do some little circles. And we're going to do 2 more sets of that one. So coming back up to your seated position again. So you can either be here with your heels on the mat with your hands forward, or you can take one foot up or both feet up. Whatever's going to work for you. Having your chest up nice and tall. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let your feet go down to the ground. Let your back go down to the ground. Draw your heels into your buttocks and lift up again into bridge pose. So lifting your heels, lifting your hips up, bring your heels close to your buttocks, clasp your hands underneath you and draw your shoulder blades together. And let's stay here for 10 breaths or 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And slowly release your spine to the mat. Release your hands. Hug your knees to your chest. And moving your knees in a circular position, one way, then the other way. And come back up to seated position again for one more boat pose. Okay, so you've got your heels on the ground, lift them up, try and draw your knees together, lifting up through the chest. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. And then we'll relax back down to the mat again. And last bridge pose. So lifting up through the hips, drawing your heels as close to your buttocks as you can. Hands underneath you, clasp, draw your shoulder blades together. Lift your chest up so it touches your chin. Really lift up through the hips, squeeze the glutes. Feel that through the thighs. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release down to the mat, hug your knees up. And from here, we're going to put our feet on the ground with our knees bent, arms straight out from our shoulders, and let's drop our knees to the left. Keep our shoulders on the ground, look to the right. Coming into a twist, feeling a stretch down the right side of the body. Taking a few breaths here. Each exhale, surrendering a little bit more into the twist. 2 more breaths. Then inhale, knees to center,
And exhale, drop the knees to the right, looking to the left. Come back to your breath. Feel the twist on the left side of the body. Two more breaths. And then knees back to center.
And we're going to go onto our hands and knees into tabletop. And we're going to do a little bit more stretching through the glutes. So we're going to have our hands nice and open, fingers spread out on the mat. We're going to bring our left knee forward and then take the left foot towards the right side of the mat. And then we're going to slide our right leg back a little bit, lift our chest up. And then feel that stretch, deep stretch through the glutes on the left side. Let's take about 4 or 5 breaths here. Lifting up the chest so you really get a great stretch through that left glute. So 2 more breaths. And then bring the right leg forward and bring the left foot back and back into tabletop. Then we're going to take the right knee forward and then the right foot across to the left side of the mat in front of the left leg, and then slide the left foot back, lift up your chest and come back to the stretch on the right side, so the right glute. Just softening your eyes and feeling that deep stretch. If you find that you're not feeling it enough, you can lift your chest a little higher and slide the left foot back a little more. 2 more breaths here. And then draw the left foot forward and take the right knee back. And let's open up through the knees and bring our buttocks back to our heels, lifting the chest nice and tall, and then walking your hands forward into child's pose. And bring your forehead down to the mat. And notice how your body's feeling now compared to the first one of these we did. You might find that you can easily get your forehead down to the mat this time. Walking your hands forward, stretching out through the shoulders, stretching through the lower back and through the sides of the body. Walking both hands towards the right side of the mat and stretching down the left side of the body, creating that space. And then walking both hands to the left side of the mat, stretching down the right side of the body, creating the space down the right side. Thinking it about creating the space for the abundance, so tuning back into that new moon that's coming up when we can start bringing more things, more abundance into our life. We're just creating the space. And then bring your hands back to center, stretching out a little more, walking your hands a little more forward, opening up, stretching out your fingers. 2 more breaths here. And then come up into tabletop. And then come onto your back, and we're going to do our happy baby next. So we're going to bend our knees and roll onto our back. We're going to reach through our knees and grab onto the outside of your feet if you can. Otherwise, you can grab your ankles or your shins and then lift your feet up. So the soles of your feet are pointing up towards the ceiling. Taking some deep breaths here. You can roll around a little bit. Let's give your lumbar spine a little massage. It's great to free up the lower back, this one. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And last breath. And then release your hands. And we're going to go into a legs up position. So you can release your hands, lifting your legs up. You might like to put some support underneath your lower back here, or you might like to go up into shoulder stand or legs up the wall. Whatever feels right for your body today. If you're in shoulder stand, bring your elbows a little bit close together and holding your hips like a bowl of fruit. If you're in legs up the wall or supported legs in the air, just giving your ankles a little roll around. Nice. Yes, tuning back into your breath. Nice light legs. Inversion is very good for your immunity and good to clear out your lymphatic system. So you're reversing everything. Taking your legs out nice and wide. Coming back to your breath. And then bringing your feet together, knees out wide like a butterfly. Taking a couple more breaths here. If you're in a shoulder stand, you might like to take your feet over the top of your head towards the floor behind you into plow pose, stretching through the back of the neck. And if you're in the butterfly position, you might like to take your feet up tall again. That's it, stretching up. Let's go 2 more breaths here. And then slowly lowering your back down, the spine back down onto the mat. And coming into Savasana for your nice yogi rest. You might like to put a bolster underneath your knees to support your lower back. If you have a blanket, you might like to put that underneath your head, an eye pillow across your eyes. Just relaxing into your Savasana position, connecting to the floor, connecting to the energy of the earth underneath you, supporting you in your yoga practice. And coming back to the theme of our practice, which is tuning into the upcoming new moon and creating space to bring in abundance. I'm going to rest here in silence, just tuning back to your breath for the next 4 or 5 minutes. Starting to come back into the room, noticing the sounds in the distance and the sounds in the room and the floor beneath you, the earth's energy holding you in the space, moving your fingers and toes, stretching out through your hands and your feet, and slowly rolling to one side. Coming into a comfortable seated position when you're ready. A couple of new moon affirmations. I invite all forms of abundance into my life. I reclaim my power and embrace new beginnings. Taking a couple more breaths here. Let's bring our hands up to our forehead for kind thoughts and to our lips for kind words and to our heart for a kind heart. Namaste. Thank you for your beautiful yoga practice today.